Welcome to the ReThink podcast.
It's a mess, and we're 4 minutes in.
Oh, I think we're about 20.
Feels like I'm worn out.
Ben Farley with Podcast Gold.
I'm just here for the outtakes.
Geysers and wishes.
Witching for geysers? That's a thing too, right? Have you witched for water?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Here we are. We're in Proverbs. None of this has anything to do with that. We're trying. We're trying to tie it in.
Tie it in, maybe.
Nope.
Nope. I'm out of here.
Says no.
Oh boy. Some of that can't be put on the internet. You know that.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Should.
Everything's possible.
If it gets on the
through
internet,
Christ
we're
who
going to have
gives me
to.
strength.
Everything is possible.
We got to find a new pastor for the Clay County campus if that gets out.
Now we got stuff.
Well, then I guess you got a choice to make.
And you should make it right
Podcast
now.
Gold or the
Hey,
Clay
give the
County
peop-
campus.
Give the people what they want.
Just let me know this week.
We all know more people watch the outtakes than the podcast.
I watch the outtakes.
I do
I don't
too.
watch the podcast.
I don't
Well, you're
either.
here.
Yeah.
Right.
We've
But
lived
the outtakes are hilarious.
it.
you
They
don't-
are good.
They've become my favorite thing to watch.
Who wants to relive this again?
Yeah.
I do.
I don't know what that says about the content of our podcast, but
Oh,
all right.
so
Here we
good.
go. Let me throw out the proverb for today.
All right.
1821. The tongue has the power of life and death. It can get you a new job or make you lose the one you have.
I don't know. That's not mine. Oh, that's the Second Opinions version.
And for those who love it, it will eat its fruit. I don't use that part in the sermon. I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
But the first part,
Leave
the
it
power of the tongue, life and death, words. So I just opening up a bunch of different ways that we use words. And I unfortunately took the negative route and just talked about all the bad ways. I got done with all my prep, and I thought I probably should spend some time talking about the positive ways. But
Well, it's helpful that you put a list together of all the bad words that we shouldn't say.
no,
I didn't think you needed to read those, but
Oh boy.
It was really bad when you were like, "Hey, Michelle, here's all the words you shouldn't use." You know.
I did talk about nagging. I was very careful to tell my wife ahead of time. I am not talking about you. Does your wife nag?
No.
You didn't answer. What's your thought?
I only get 750 words a day. I'm gonna save a few of them for later.
she says I don't listen, so she may, but I have no idea.
He's on fire today.
How do you fix nagging? Just listen.
Just listen. Yeah.
Do what you're told the first time, and you don't get nagged.
Huh.
That's how I solved
Fixing
that problem.
nagging in 2022 is much different than 1950.
You ever watch an episode of the Archie Bunker
Mm-hmm.
show? Dude, you couldn't do that today.
No.
Mm-mm.
Not even for comedy.
Matt doesn't know what Archie
I say I don't
Bunker
know if
is.
I've seen it.
Really?
YouTube it
Oh,
later. I'll
man.
YouTube it later. Find me a clip, Farley.
It is something.
Mm-hmm.
Nagging. So none of your wives nag, so we'll move on from that. Although one of our elders told me, I don't want to throw Larry under the bus. I won't call him by name.
Smart.
But
He doesn't watch this.
Larry, yes, right. Larry said that his wife was complaining, Joanne was complaining, that he hadn't talked to her for 2 or 3 weeks.
That's a long time.
That's a long time not to talk to your wife.
Wow.
He said he was sorry. He was just trying to be respectful, and he didn't want to interrupt.
Are you using that in your sermon?
I am.
Ouch.
Larry actually
Words
said
can
that.
get
I'm
you
not just
a new
making
job.
that up.
Yeah. So that's elders at Christchurch.com.
So where I find words where I catch myself like really having to be conscious of my words is with my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because my kids know exactly how to push my buttons like better than anybody else in the world. They have figured me out and they know how to do it. So I have to really measure my words with them because
What do you mean?
they know how to frustrate me, and they know what they're doing. Oh, they know what they're doing. And so if I'm not careful, I can either come off really harsh or, even to the point of like crushing their spirits. And that is not something I ever want to do. And I think so anger is the easiest emotion to access. It's the simplest emotion the human body will, go to. And so a lot of times we say things in general, like culture in general, will say things out of anger or frustration. And really when we're talking about living a godly lifestyle and gospel-centeredness, those words, we have to put those things in check. And so one of the scriptures, that we take all thoughts captive, in Christ, and we measure that up to Christ. And sometimes that's hard to do. And what we speak is oftentimes a reflection of what's going on with our heart. So, yeah.
What is your greatest struggle when it comes to the use of words?
Well, there you go. No struggles.
Declined to speak. No, I think I'm kind of in the same boat right now with my kids, especially my son. He's 5, and it's the stage where you are trying to figure out where you measure up with dad, and so he tries to challenge me, and
That'll pass at 30.
Okay.
It's about 30.
Okay. So it started up, and I just honestly have not handled it well. And it's kind of to the same thing that you said. Like, I can be really quick to say something dumb to him.
Do you ever say something like, you make some ridiculous statement, like I'm gonna, whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and then you think, and they know you're not going to do that either.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty bad about making some empty threats sometimes, like just off the cuff.
Like,
I
I'm not going to
follow
let you
through on
have
a lot
supper
of-
for 6 months.
Yeah, I follow through with a lot of them, but there are some that's like it's not going to be possible to follow through with those. But you're trying to make this grand statement of power that I will, if you continue this, it's going to end bad for you. So, but yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like I can be pretty biting with my tone and the words I say, and it can.
Because you're pretty fast with your tongue.
Yeah,
you can
I
think
mean,
of
really, I
things
do think
pretty
quickly,
creative.
and it can
Fast and loose.
It can be if you're not careful, like you can really say some things. I mean, I'll not ashamed to tell you this. There are times when
Last chance. You
if
sure?
I come home and I'll have certain expectations of things that I think should have been done. And if that one stop it. If that one thing, there could be 10 other things that got done, but if that one thing that I had in my head didn't get done, then I'll say something to my wife, or whether it's my kids, like, what the heck did you do all day? And if I say it to my wife, she's watching 4 kids, she's cleaning up messes, she's changing diapers, like, she's exhausted, but because I'm not thinking, I'll throw that out. And
Does
so-
she, what insights into your home life here?
Yeah.
Does she?
Then
does
I
she
am
engage with
should
you
be
verbally,
just as
or
quick.
does she go
Oh
silent?
yeah. Oh no,
Does
no.
she?
My wife, no, she would not stay silent on that. She would come right back at me, and then
She
it starts
should.
a whole
She
thing.
should.
And-
The crazy
yeah.
cycle then.
Yes.
Of words.
Yeah, that's a legit thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the key to that is as quick as you are to say those damaging words, you should be a whole lot quicker to apologize. And that's one of the things I'm with my kids that I'm trying to exemplify is, like, if I've screwed up, I need to go to them and apologize.
So, what I've learned about my words is that if I'm not careful, they can be the gas that's already burning on a fire.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even this morning, like, our most stressful time at home is like 6 to 7:30 because we're getting ready to go somewhere. The kids are getting dressed. They're, doing their thing, and we can never seem to get out of the house on time.
Yep.
And this morning, I'm like, I will leave you here. That's
Yep.
everybody knew that was
Right.
That was not true.
Yep.
And so, like, Megan looked at me, and and we rarely fight or argue, period. But
I wouldn't fight with your wife.
no, she scares me.
She would win.
Yeah, for sure. Maybe that's why we don't. Just because I just know.
You're like my wife.
Yeah. So she looked at me today, and she goes, "You were adding fuel to this fire. Leave her alone."
Oh, that's sweet.
And I was like, you know what? That's true.
Yeah.
And you're talking about apologizing. Like, I got down on my knees, so I was looking right at her, and I looked at her and said, "Hey, I'm sorry
Yep.
for what I said to you."
Yep.
And because I want her to know, hey, my dad apologizes when he does something wrong.
Yeah.
And I had to do that this morning, So,
The current me could probably do that because I've learned my best approach with words is don't speak. Right?
That's a
Because-
proverb, isn't it?
Well, James says it, be slow to speak
Oh.
and quick to listen. There are times when I don't know, there's so many, there's 90 different proverbs about words. So we can't cover them all, but that may be correct. But I learned to I got to be quiet because my mouth is stupid.
Yeah.
Right. But the old me, if my wife had said, "You're adding flame to the fire," I said, "Well, let's blow this place up."
Burn it down.
oh, that's funny.
No, it wasn't. No.
Yeah. Well, in this context, my wife was like, she said it in a very nice way that woke me up to the reality. Like, this is totally true. Yeah.
And words can do that. Words can bring correction
Mm-hmm.
and set your new course. If you've got a heart that's ready to listen.
I think my wife and I we're a good balance. Like, we very rarely will argue about things. One, she's just incredibly easygoing about everything. So, like, it takes a lot to get her fired up. But even in regards to the kids and stuff, if I'm being, harsh or whatever, she'll say something to me, and I know if she says something to me, I know, like, okay, I've crossed the line. And vice versa, if she's really frustrated with the kids or something like that, and I say something to her, like, it's received both ways really well. And I think we do a good job of checking that. But it's whenever we're both tired and both frustrated with the kids that, sometimes.
And words just become that fuel that
Yeah.
escalates. Yeah.
And there's something that says, like, for every, like, criticism, it takes so many positive reinforcements. Like, there's some study out there. It's like 1 to 10 or something like that.
Wow.
Like, one negative comment.
Well, and the
takes
truth of
10
the
to,
matter
like,
is,
build that back.
we can hear praise, and we remember
Yeah.
the criticism.
Yep.
I think for me too, in criticism, is remembering who is criticizing you or giving you criticism, because that matters too. Like,
Yep.
on social media, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But if it's someone in your life that, like, you respect or something like that, you better listen. And that's talking about wisdom, because there's going to be some truth in that.
Mhm.
And so I think we need to weigh words as well. Words from certain people matter more than
Well,
just
I mean,
Yeah.
general.
you and I were talking about, like, David and Nathan.
Mhm.
Like, having a Nathan in your life that can speak to you with honesty and love.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
And you don't kill them.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like, that's a good thing and a healthy thing to have someone that can speak correction in your life. Now, you're right. You don't need 10 of them, and you don't certainly need them on social media, But you do
Well,
need,
on social
you need
media,
it.
those words don't count because you don't have a relationship with those people. It doesn't.
Right.
Yeah.
Just ignore that
I
junk.
do like reading some of the arguments that happen on social media, because they're hilarious, and people really think they're going to change people's minds.
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've never seen anybody in the comments be like, you know what? You're right.
You made a great point there.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
I am now enlightened.
Like,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Well, let me
I
throw
do
out-
love those comments, though.
Yeah.
Let me throw out some of the different ways that we talked about that you can use words wrong, all right, and just kind of get your reactions to them. There's the person that has kind of a negative, biting, critical words. They're always pointing out the wrong, always pointing out the flaw. What do you do with those kind of words, those kind of people? What do you
Go
do
ahead,
if
Farley.
you are that way?
Well,
Ben.
if you
Clearly identified which one of us.
what a
that is.
terrible question.
Quarrelsome words. There are people that the word is in Proverbs is quarrelsome.
Yeah.
People that just like to engage,
Yeah.
in a fight for the sake of disagreement. And that's where social media, man, they're everywhere.
Yeah. So I think it depends on it depends on obviously the relationship with the person, because I am very competitive, and so in those types of arguments or whatever, I want to win. But you quickly realize like no one really wins in those arguments. Two, I think it kind of goes back to what you'd said. Like you got to weigh the relationship that you have, but also weigh the words and the personality of the person that's giving that constant criticism. And ultimately, I found when I have been that person that it's way less about the person that I'm speaking to and more about what is going on in my own life, in my own heart, that's kind of bubbling to the surface. So I think you have to be somewhat empathetic to that person to realize it's probably less about you and more what's going on.
If I'm on my game, what I like to do is agree with them. Like if they're really biting, be like, yeah, that really does stink. And just like
Shuts it down
Yeah,
quick.
and all of a sudden they're like the fight's out of them.
Well, it's not that bad.
Yeah, you
Because
know what I'm
sometimes
saying?
they just want to fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so I've tried to teach this to our kids too. If anyone is bullying you, or really just going after them, be like, you are the model of perfection, and just point it back to them,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Because all of a sudden you have no criticism, you have no more fuel. Is
Yeah.
what you have is whenever you feed that back with a positive, type thing.
Yeah.
Now in a gospel or a biblical sense, I try to point them to Jesus.
Right.
So if someone's really complaining about something or really biting hard on something, and just be like, well, God did free us from that,
Mm-hmm.
and try to point back to the truths of Scripture, because those are really hard to argue with as well.
Yeah.
So really, defusing the situation by taking away the fuel and pointing them back to something positive.
Yeah.
So
Basically, you're saying there's no point in engaging.
no, there's really not.
Particularly, listen to this, particularly online.
Yeah.
So if you don't like what we're saying here in the podcast, quit watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
Leave-
don't
I
leave
mean,
us. Don't
argue
leave
in the
us
comments,
Don't leave us
but-
comments.
Let people not do that anyway.
Okay.
I've had to learn though, my tendency when I hear someone coming negatively is to take it personally.
Yeah.
And I've had to understand. You're right. Look at the person's attitude and don't take it personally.
Yeah.
But we have people who, just from the nature of what we do, who come up to us and use words harshly to describe something that we are doing or not doing.
Yeah.
And it's just understanding hey, there's a space in their heart a lot of times that is not filled with the gospel, or there's a hole in there that Jesus needs to fill, and we just got to keep pointing people to that, as opposed to me going, how do I fix that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
Yeah, it that reminder that the words are flowing out of the heart. So if there's all criticism, quarrelsome, negativity, that's the problem in the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But what I really love is when, and we've seen it in some people, I know you guys have, but when that spirit of anger and those words of anger eventually turn to words of peace and joy because God's filled it, you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the really cool part.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
How about another one? Perverse speech. Now, when I first read perverse speech, because it's several times in the Proverbs, I was thinking about perverted speech, vile language. That's actually not what it's referring to. It's untruth or twisting truth, So it's the example I think I use in the sermon is kind of a health and wealth prosperity issue of preaching, right? Proclaiming things that they're not true. They're perversions of truth. They're twisting an idea and making something that it's not. What do we do with that?
I got a standard couple phrases here. I don't know about that. Whenever someone says, I'm like, I don't know about that. And then I'll say, come on, really?
Yeah.
So those are whenever I hear something that doesn't sound quite right, I just question it back. I don't. Once again, I'm not trying to prove, a
We have
point.
nothing to prove.
I'm
at that
just-
point.
Yeah.
I'll ask that question back.
Yeah.
Like, really?
Like, can you define that? Can
Yeah.
you explain
Where'd you
that?
find that at? Or something
Yeah.
like that.
I think that's right if it's like an idea or belief that they've come up with themselves. But I'll be honest, one of the things that I see a lot, even within our church, is because internet preachers are so available and accessible today that regardless of what church body you're a part of, you probably have a favorite internet preacher that you listen to too. And I've seen some people within our own church post some things that, or share some sermons or clips or whatever that are not in line with the word.
Like the one you shared
health
with
and
us
wealth.
earlier.
Yeah, we've since deleted that clip of me. But no, but I think it is important for us to call that out lovingly, but
Kinda like
and
right
point
now.
them to the truth. Yeah. But I think like there's one. It's one thing if it is, if it's a little bit off, we can help correct that. It's an entirely different thing if it is a heretical message,
Yeah.
because a heretical message, you start to get in the whole salvation issue. Then if you're following a anti-biblical message, so I think we have an obligation to call that out.
Yeah, to me, it depends upon the. Is this a salvational issue or is this an opinion issue?
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
there are a lot of biblical opinion issues,
Right.
interpretive issues
Yes.
that we fight about that we're not going to resolve.
Yeah.
Right.
That ultimately don't matter.
Be better just to let go.
Yeah.
Most of the time. But sometimes it is salvational issues. It crops up in works-oriented things. Gosh, I just read a post. A priest in Arizona was removed from the pastorate because he was using the wrong phraseology in baptism, right? And it was I baptize you, or we baptize you
Yeah.
instead of I.
Yeah.
And all the baptisms he had done in 26 years were
Yeah.
now null and void. Well, that's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's a salvation issue because it's not we or I, it's
Yeah.
God,
Yep.
right? So there are things you call out because they are critical to eternal life, but whether the pre-post or millennial or whatever, stuff that we argue about.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk about, but perverse speech. What else? Any other thoughts on that? Shall we move on?
Well, we live in a day and age where you're talking about internet preachers and stuff like that. To me, in my opinion, is there are too many people that are letting that be the source of their theology.
Yeah.
And when they find somebody that calls them to a higher standard, all they can do is switch the channel and go to another YouTube channel. When they hear something that may or may not be off, they don't know enough because they're not in the Word to actually know.
Yep.
And they're taking it as factual and truthful, and somebody's getting a phone call.
Oh, that's Ben's phone.
Me
Oh,
on my
iPhone 14.
14
12
Pro
Max Plus.
That's a phone?
No.
I'm just saying, with a ton of information out there, like, we got to be careful about what we take in.
Absolutely.
So,
So there's just more available to help you and to hurt you.
oh yeah. Yep.
Gotta be discerning. Mm. What about this one? Without wood, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down.
Yeah, but gossip's so fun. I
It's
mean,
exhausting.
I hate gossip.
didn't you hear? Didn't you hear?
Hey,
Jordan doesn't want
I
me
forgot to tell you
tell
guys
the
before we
gossip.
got started. I've got a prayer request.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
there it
boy.
is.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's
Jesus
struggling.
gossip.
Jesus gossip.
Yeah.
Make sure you pray about it.
20 minutes. Yeah, no, this drives me insane. In life groups and stuff, we'll say, do we have a prayer request? And someone will go into that and a 20-minute story all to get to, we need to pray for so-and-so.
Yeah.
Drives me insane.
That bothers
Stop
me.
it.
The prayer request takes 5 times longer than the prayer.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Stop it.
We had a
Pray for that person in that period of time.
Yep. When I was growing up in church, I can still. We sat behind.
Are you
this
talking
lady.
about your home church now?
Yes.
Is this gossip?
No.
This is fact.
I don't know. Is it? But
This
there
is the
was-
fine line I'm trying to figure out,
It
though,
is,
truthfully.
yeah.
Is it gossip to talk about other?
I think I'm just giving an example here of
Okay.
that goes along with what you just said.
So
There was
why we do it matters.
Yes. There was a lady who, it was the same thing. Like, it was like the CVS receipt was unrolling with her lists of everything that was going on.
Now
with
we know your
everyone.
hometown doesn't have a CVS. Come on.
Well,
You mean like
you drive an hour south and you hit one. That's
Okay.
where you go to do your business. But
He's from Sicily.
Didn't you run over CVS with a tractor? Oh wait, that was a shed.
well, it could have been.
That's
But
a rumor.
Anyways,
But,
yeah,
you know,
I've
like-
experienced that too.
What I've noticed is I've not worked in or been to too many really small churches, you know.
Yeah.
But that if you're not careful, that prayer time at the end of the service
Yeah.
it's gossip time.
Well, it's like that in your life group. It
Yeah.
can be like that.
We just don't pray.
I think when you talk about
Nobody.
gossip, like, is it gossip or not? Is it painting a picture that is negatively affecting the person you're talking or situation you're talking about? And if it's not a genuine concern to see them like moving towards Jesus, and it's painting a picture of something different, that's gossip.
Yeah.
So it's so much connected to the heart behind why we share the story. But I think we've got to realize we don't have to share so much,
No.
right?
But we love details because we're in an instant, news culture, and we want every detail of every story.
Yeah.
I read a definition of gossip was just sharing secrets. It doesn't mean they're untrue.
Yeah.
They don't need to be public.
Yeah. Well, I think within a life group setting, I want to learn how we can pray for one another. Like, it's not bad to bring outside people into that topic, but what I would rather see is the people within the life group going to those people who they want to bring up in the prayer request. Go
Well-
to them and pray with them.
Here's one of the things that our middle school life groups do and high school life groups. They have what Michelle calls their prayer box, you know, and she has the students write down their prayers and put them in the box so that it doesn't turn into a bunch of gossip.
Yeah.
And I think that's so smart
Yeah.
because you're right. It can easily go there.
Yep.
Boasting, bragging.
Well, we all know that, Ben is the best. He's told us that multiple times, so.
How many points did you score? How many points did you score in high school?
1,200.
Really? I thought it was a lot more than that.
I scored like 12.
We thought you were better than that.
No, I was like
That's
12
impressive.
12 or 1,300.
It's quite a few still. I mean, that's about 1,200 more than I scored. But
I know that's 1,200 more than I scored.
so how do you tell someone?
How awesome you are.
How do you tell someone information without it being bragging?
You say it really
Well, if we're
confident.
Here's a for example for you.
Google me.
That's for you, Doug.
There's no chance he watches this.
Oh, you will. I'm going to tag him in it. Doug Junkins.
Oh, boy.
This is spinning off the rails.
Bragging. So here's what happens. How many people were at church Sunday?
1,300-ish.
You fell right into it.
You did. Slow to speak.
So
But there could have been
no,
more.
but here's the thing. You can share that information and it be bragging. You can share that information and it be celebration.
So here's
Yeah.
what I do when
Yeah.
because the 1,300 people that came here, they don't care. Just so we know, it's the other preachers.
It's
that-
1,380,
That's it.
by the way.
It's the other preachers that ask us the question. What I try to do is just downplay it.
Yep.
I mean, not that I'm trying to downplay our church and what God's doing, but I feel like they're asking out of that.
Yeah. But that's the key.
Measuring.
It's
Yeah.
measuring, comparing
Yeah.
yourself to one another. But what's it matter if you have 1,300 or 13,000 people who are an inch deep, aren't growing in their faith, have not been transformed by the gospel, as opposed to 25 who are actually doing it and are living out the gospel and have been transformed? Like, one is way healthier than the other, and it has nothing to do with how many people are there.
Yeah.
But bragging can be both. The same information can be both,
Yeah.
bragging or celebration. You know,
Yep.
because I was going to share that Sunday because that's a pretty good attendance. I thought, well, people that may be encouraging to people. And I thought, talking about bragging, is that bragging? Why am I sharing that?
I think that's actually a really good illustration, and you should share it and then talk about why, like that could be either one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're right. It comes down to, is it a celebration of what God's doing, or is it look at us and how awesome we are,
Yep.
and look what we're able to accomplish.
Well, I think with stuff, you'd asked, okay, how many points did you score in high school? So I got a basketball from that when I hit 1,000, and
Taking a selfie with a guy who scored 1,300 points.
I thought he was on
that
Facebook.
won't get you much on the old black market, but so they gave me a ball. That ball is in my kid's playroom somewhere, flat, and
They could care less.
they could care less. Like my son likes to play catch with it with me. He's taken outside. It's got mud on it. Like so you start to realize like all these things that we brag about that we put so much stock into mean nothing. Like my kids could care. They don't see me as a better father. You know, they don't address me as 1,000-point scoring dad or like we respect you because of this. It doesn't matter. And it's the same with the people that attend your church. It's a great thing that God is bringing people. But if they're not hearing the gospel and transformed by it, who cares?
Take a look at your social media and see how many of the pictures are selfies.
I love selfies.
Oh, I take a lot of selfies.
Because in my family, no one ever takes pictures of anything. So like, I'm
And
always
nobody
like,
taking a picture of you?
I know, no. So I have to take a picture of like our family doing a
the,
selfie.
Once
so
the Fu
that,
Manchu came out, I understand.
I'll send my wife to your house because she takes a picture of everything and
Yeah.
every occasion. If the kids are in a different outfit,
Yeah.
hey, before they go to school, take a picture of that.
I bet if my wife lived in a house with 1,000-point score, she'd take a lot of pictures.
Yeah, you got that
Did
right.
you take a picture of the kids soaking wet before school this morning?
fun time
I
we
haven't
had.
told my wife about that yet either.
Send her a
Hashtag
selfie video.
blessed.
Look at this, honey. Water fountain in the car.
Baptisms for everyone.
Yeah. Hey, good news.
We just got done with
The
Holiday
kids were
World.
sprinkled this morning.
Oh my!
Take a look at how many folks listening. All of you.
Go check out our Facebook profiles.
Take a look at how
Like-
many of your pictures are selfies. Why are we taking so many pictures of ourselves?
Jeez.
So many people share, here's where I am today.
Yep.
Here's what I'm eating. Here's the beach I'm laying on.
Yep. You know the irony of all of that? Nobody cares. Seriously.
Words of affirmation.
I said
do
that
I
actually,
care?
no one cares.
It's just one of those days. But I don't care what you had for lunch. You don't care what I had for lunch. You don't care where my family went on vacation. I don't care where your family went on
Oh,
vacation.
but we do. We measure
Unless
up all
it's
the
for-
time.
We
I-
measure
here's-
ourselves by what everybody else is doing.
Okay,
How
yeah,
awesome
but,
our
but
life
why
is.
that? It's to boost yourself. So you don't
It
really
all-
care what I'm doing.
It all goes back to heart.
Yeah, it's social media is an exercise in narcissism. Like that's just what it is because that's what it's designed to
wolf.
be.
But we need
That's what
all
it's
of you
designed
to follow
be.
us, please.
So that is.
Whoa, we're getting high fives around here.
I'll tweet that quote later.
Social media is an exercise in narcissism.
It is.
Somebody said that before.
Yep. Now you can use it.
Ben
for,
Farley.
You can use it
just
for
said
good
it.
purposes. You know, you can use it for good purposes. It's not saying that everyone on there, but that is literally what it's designed to be. It's designed to be about you to share to the world that you think really cares that doesn't. Everything that you're doing.
Oh, they care,
So,
Ben.
But that, and in response to that, like I've kind of decided to go the opposite way. Like I just don't post a whole lot, period, because
So here's a question
no
for
one
you.
cares.
Yeah.
Do you feel strange posting or hitting like when it's a video clip of you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I quit doing it.
I don't have any video clips of me. So I don't have that problem.
Yeah, your sermon was on there, and it was all over the place. It kept coming up. I'm thinking, hey, I preach here too, and it was there for weeks.
That was
That's 'cause
actually
he paid to have it. boosted.
Yeah.
Did he
Yeah.
boost it?
I used
And
my
that was-
entire life group budget.
that was
to make
also the
happen.
clip with Shia LaBeouf. So technically, Shia LaBeouf is the reason that he was getting
boy.
views. But yeah, it does feel weird.
I don't want people to think I'm bragging.
I don't even like yours. So
I don't either. I don't like anybody's.
Yep.
Yeah, I take that very personally.
Yeah, I've noticed you have.
Your likes matter. Yeah.
Well, there's a certain dopamine release when you see that people are liking your video, right?
Yeah.
Is that,
And,
they say
yeah,
that?
and we have gone without for months because you don't like our stuff.
That's true.
You know, I was sitting there
I don't want to brag.
We need a hit
at a guy
of dopamine.
was talking to.
Okay.
What do you have for breakfast?
I did not.
No
eat
one
breakfast.
cares.
I did eat breakfast this morning. Not that you care, but
I'm just saying you're wound up.
I'll send you a picture later.
You're wound up.
This guy shows up at church, and
How
this
long
summer-
have we gone? Like, we
I don't
gotta
even-
be done, right?
45 minutes.
Wow.
Anyway,
I got two more. I got two more. Hang on.
Go ahead.
This is
No,
gonna be
finish
part
this
A
off.
and part
This
B.
guy came to church.
This guy shows up to church, okay, and he says, "I found you guys online," and then I jumped on all of the teaching team, their personal profiles, and he's like, "I noticed that none of you actually share anything that you individually do, and that's why I came here."
Wow.
He's like, "Because I didn't think you guys were full of yourselves." And I was like, "Oh man, well, once we become friends,
Well, I
I'll
put all
realize
my
Glad I deleted all those last weekend.
I put all my stuff I do at church on jeffmichael.com.
TheJeffMichael.com. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, and I think we're all pretty similar in that.
Yeah. We're the humblest people we know.
So the next thing we use words to lie. Just kidding. That's not on.
It's not on there.
It is on there, but
We do.
it's not next.
Yeah, we do.
Everybody does.
That's a hard issue, too.
A lying tongue hates those it hurts. A flattering mouth works ruin. Flattery. That's one I did use. Flattery. What's flattery?
Make flowery language to build people up,
Yeah.
yourself or
For
others,
I would say for a
But it's selfish.
purpose.
for a purpose
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get what you want out of it.
Like you tell your wife, man, you look great today.
I have
Do
no
you-
agenda.
I'll
when
say
I say
it. Well,
that.
that's totally true when I say that.
Zero agenda.
That's the way it should be. No hidden agenda. We are sincerely just doling out praise.
Yes. And whatever happens after that,
Thousand
We'll
points.
let the chips fall.
4 kids.
oh boy.
Your wife doesn't. She's not going to watch 45 minutes. Ain't no way.
No.
be like,
but
skip to
send me the
45.
timestamp though, so I can say between the minutes of 46 and 47, you need to watch something.
But behind that, flattery language is all selfish. You know what
Totally.
I mean? Yeah.
Every one of these things keeps coming back to your heart,
Yeah.
which is what the scripture teaches. Yeah. Words flow out of the heart. Guard your heart. It's a wellspring of life. That's enough for today, isn't it?
Oh, we had enough way.
We've created
Way
a lot
back
of problems. A lot of problems.
Yeah.
As Roger would say, this is a lot of good content.
You
Because
gotta
he'll be the
pick
only
between
one
all the
watching.
trash. Pick out all the trash. There's
Him
some,
and Julie be the only one watching 45 minutes in.
there's some gold in here. Thanks for joining us. See you next week.